The graduation cap felt heavy on my head. I stood alone in my gown, scanning the crowded seats. My heart beat fast, hoping to see them. Everyone around me was hugging their families, taking pictures with big smiles. But the 3 seats I had saved were empty. The ceremony ended, and the crowd began to leave. My phone buzzed in my hand. It was a text from Mom. Liam's coach set up a last-minute meeting with a scout from the Nationals. We had to be there. So sorry, honey. We're proud of you. I read the words again and again. 4 years of working 2 jobs, of studying all night, of perfect grades, and not one person came. I clutched my business degree tightly. I felt a hollow sadness, but underneath it, a new strength began to grow. Growing up, our house in Denver always revolved around my brothers. My older brother, Liam, was the baseball star from the time he could hold a bat. My parents' car was always packed for his tournaments. My dad, Frank, would close his small construction site early for Liam's games. My mom, Carol, kept stats for every player on the team. Then there was Noah, 2 years older than me. He was the genius. His room was filled with trophies for math and science. When he got a perfect score on his SATs, Dad took everyone out for a fancy steak dinner. And then there was me, Amelia. I was the quiet one. I tried so hard to get their attention, but I was just the afterthought. I remember when I made the honor society in 10th grade. Mom promised she would come to the ceremony. I bought a new dress. An hour before it started, I got a text. Liam has a special batting practice with a former MLB player. Can't miss this chance. So proud of you, sweetie. I went alone. When I won the art show with my painting of the Denver skyline, Dad was supposed to be there. But Noah had a big science fair presentation the same night. His is for a scholarship, Amelia. You understand, Mom said. I learned to stop expecting them to show up. I found my comfort in the city itself, in the shapes of the buildings against the sky. In high school, I got a job at a local hardware store. The owner, Mr. Peterson, was a kind, older man. He noticed I was always looking at the books about architecture. During slow afternoons, he taught me how to read blueprints. He showed me how to estimate how much wood or concrete a project would need. I loved it. It felt like a puzzle. When I told my dad I wanted to study business and real estate, he just nodded while reading the sports page. That's a tough world, he mumbled. Mom said, that's a nice backup plan, dear. They didn't get it. This wasn't a backup plan. It was my dream. When college acceptance letters came, Noah's full ride to an Ivy League school was the main topic for weeks. Liam's scholarship to a big baseball college was also huge news. My acceptance to the University of Colorado, with a small merit scholarship, got a "that's great, honey" from Mom and a pat on the back from Dad. I knew I would have to work to pay for the rest. I didn't mind. I was used to doing things on my own. I worked as a waitress and a tutor all through college. I studied late into the night. I was determined to make my dream real, with or without their support. I sent my family a graduation announcement 2 months early. I called them every week to remind them. It's on the calendar, sweetie, Mom always said. Dad even promised to take the whole day off work. The night before, I could barely sleep. I imagined them in the audience, finally seeing me, finally being proud of just me. But when I woke up, there was a text from Mom sent at 5 a.m., the scout meeting is today. So unexpected. It's Liam's big break. We'll celebrate you next week, promise. I sat on my bed, staring at the wall. The hope I had been holding on to finally shattered. After the lonely graduation, I got a job at a small real estate office. The boss, Mr. Higgins, was not very nice. The office was old and the coffee machine was always broken. My job was to answer phones and file papers. The pay was low, and I rented a tiny apartment in an old building called the Willow. It was not fancy. The elevator was often broken, and I had to walk up 4 flights of stairs. But it was my own place, paid for with my own money. That felt good. One day, I was carrying groceries up the stairs, sweating and tired, when an old lady opened her door. "You must be new," the woman said. Her voice was strong, but she looked small and frail. "I'm Eleanor. I live in 4B. I've seen you hauling things up these stairs without a single complaint. Most young people would be screaming about it." I smiled, out of breath. A 4th-floor walk-up was what I could afford, I told her honestly. "I'm Amelia." Eleanor nodded, a twinkle in her eye. "I like a person who doesn't mind hard work. My late husband, Walter, always said you see a person's true character when no one is watching." She invited me in for tea, and that was the start of our friendship. Over the next few months, I helped Eleanor a lot. I set up her new television and showed her how to use video calls to talk to her grandchildren. I fixed a leaky faucet her landlord was ignoring. In return, she told me amazing stories about Denver. Her husband, Walter, had been a real estate developer. He built some of the prettiest buildings downtown. Walter could see the beauty in places everyone else thought were worthless, she told me. I loved hearing her stories. She was the first person who really understood why I loved buildings so much. At work, Mr. Higgins still only let me answer phones. I asked him if I could help with any property listings. He just laughed. "Amelia, this business is about experience. You need to pay your dues." I was frustrated. I knew I could do more. One Saturday, I was walking through a neighborhood and saw a sad, old house. The paint was peeling and the windows were broken, but it had a beautiful shape. I could imagine it fixed up, with a fresh coat of paint and a new garden. I took pictures and started doing research every night. I discovered the old house had been empty for years. The bank that owned it just wanted to sell it fast. The price was low. I spent weeks making a plan. I drew pictures of how it could look. I calculated the cost of new plumbing, electrical work, and wood for the floors. I even found out about a city grant for restoring historical homes. There was just one huge problem. I only had about $5,000 in my savings account. That was not even close to enough money to buy and fix the house. I felt stuck. I was having tea with Eleanor and I must have looked sad. "What's on your mind, dear?" she asked. I finally showed her my folder of plans and pictures for the old house. I told her all my ideas. She listened carefully, asking smart questions about the costs and the neighborhood. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "You remind me of my Walter," she said. "You have the vision." Then she said something that shocked me. "I have some money sitting around. I want to invest it in your project." My mouth fell open. "Eleanor, I can't take your money," I said. She held up her hand. "It's not a gift. It's an investment. I'm investing in you, Amelia. I'll give you $150,000. We will be partners. You do the work, and I'll provide the funds. But I expect a full report on every dollar spent." I was speechless. This was my chance. This was the opportunity one had been dreaming of. We shook hands, and the very next week, I bought the old house for $70,000. Now I had a full-time job and a full-time project. Every day after work, I went to the house. I learned to do a lot of the work myself to save money. I ripped out old carpet and found beautiful hardwood floors underneath. I scraped off layers of old wallpaper. It was hard, dirty work. My hands were always sore. An older carpenter named Mr. O'Malley saw me struggling to fix the front porch. "You're going to hurt yourself, kid," he said. But he saw I was serious, so he started showing me the right way to use tools. His help was priceless. It took 6 months of exhausting work. There were many problems. We found bad wires in the walls and rotten wood in the attic. But we fixed everything. Finally, the house was finished. It was beautiful. The old floors shone, the kitchen was modern but classic, and the garden was blooming. We put a "for sale" sign in the yard. A young family fell in love with it and bought it for a great price. After paying back Eleanor's investment, I made a $40,000 profit. I had done it. I was a real estate developer. The first thing I did was quit my job at Mr. Higgins's office. His face was shocked when I told him. "You're making a big mistake," he said. But I knew I wasn't. I started my own small company, Amelia Homes. My next project was a small apartment building that needed updating. With the profit from the first house, I could afford to hire a small crew. Eleanor was my official advisor. My company grew slowly. I focused on restoring old properties with care. My name started to get known in Denver for quality work. During this time, my family was still mostly absent. I would send my mom photos of my finished projects. She would text back, "Looks nice. Did you hear Liam might get called up to the minor leagues?" Or, "Noah got a big promotion." My brothers only called when they needed money. Liam's baseball career was not going well, and he often needed help with rent. Noah always spent his money on fancy clothes and cars, so he sometimes needed a loan. I usually sent it, hoping it would make them like me. It never did. One day, I was looking at a potential new project when I saw it, the old Grandview Hotel. It was a huge, 6-story brick building that had been empty for 10 years. It looked dark and forgotten. Windows were broken and the roof sagged. Everyone said it was a teardown, but as I walked around it, I saw its beauty. I saw the carved stone around the doors and the big, strong windows. I imagined turning it into beautiful apartments. The top floor had an amazing view of the mountains. I knew I had to have it. Buying the Grandview was a huge risk. It would cost almost all the money my company had made. The repairs would be very expensive. My small team was nervous. "Amelia, this is too big," my project manager said. "If this goes wrong, we could lose everything." Even Eleanor was worried. "It's a magnificent dream, dear, but are you sure?" I knew it was a giant leap, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I saw its future so clearly. I decided to bet everything on it. I made an offer on the Grandview Hotel. The work on the Grandview was the hardest thing I have ever done. We found many problems we didn't expect. The foundation had cracks. The inside was filled with junk. For over a year, I lived and breathed that building. I worked alongside the construction crew. I learned to install windows and sand wooden beams. I spent all my money, and I even had to get a loan from the bank. There were many nights I cried from stress and exhaustion, but I never thought about giving up. I was going to make my dream real. My vision for the top floor was a giant, stunning penthouse. I wanted it to be a mix of the building's history and modern luxury. I kept the old brick walls inside. I put in a huge, modern kitchen. The best part was the rooftop. I turned it into a garden with a view of the whole city. It was perfect. Just as we were finishing, amazing news broke. A big tech company announced it was building its new headquarters just 2 blocks from the Grandview. Suddenly, my neighborhood was the most popular place in Denver. Overnight, everything changed. People were fighting to buy the apartments in the Grandview before they were even officially for sale. The Penthouse, which I thought I might sell for $1 million, was now worth over $3 million. A famous architecture magazine did a story on my building, calling it a masterpiece. My phone would not stop ringing with interview requests. I had done it. I had created the most talked about property in Denver. The girl nobody came to see graduate was now a success. That's when my family suddenly noticed me. First, my mom called. "So, that building project of yours, your father saw an article." Her voice was suddenly very interested. Then Liam called, asking if I had investment tips. Noah texted, saying his boss was impressed. My dad even left me a voicemail, which he never did. Amelia, give me a call. We need to talk business. It was so obvious. They didn't care about me. They cared about my success. I felt sad and angry at the same time. They invited me to a family dinner. The table was set with the best dishes. Everyone was being too nice. After we ate, my dad cleared his throat. We have an idea, he said. He proposed merging my company with his struggling construction business. He would be the boss. Liam and Noah would have important jobs. It was a plan to use my success to save them. I listened quietly. Then I stood up. I told them I knew about Dad's business problems. I told them I would not be merging my company, but I would help them as a consultant if they treated me with respect. My father was angry at first, but he eventually agreed. My brothers started to treat me differently. We began having real family dinners where everyone talked and listened. I started a foundation to help young people who, like me, had dreams but no support. 1 year later, we all stood on the rooftop of the Grandview Penthouse, celebrating. I looked at my family, finally together, and at the beautiful city I loved. I had learned that true success isn't about a big house or money. It's about building the life you want and finding people who value you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. If you've made it this far, you understand my journey. Respect is non-negotiable. Your worth isn't defined by a family's empty seats or who they believe deserves the spotlight. My story proves that silence can be a weapon, and patience can be your greatest power. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who's been made to feel invisible. Tell them, your silence doesn't make you weak. Your boundaries don't make you difficult. Your survival makes you extraordinary. Subscribe for more stories about finding your worth and turning pain into triumph. The revolution begins when you decide to build your own future, brick by brick. Your worth was never in question. It was only ever waiting for you to discover it.